All right, so that was another great Sprite Fright week. It's exciting as almost every department is moving full force now. It's exciting to see shots getting animated, finaled, and at the same time, while we are all trying to approve layout and get as much as layout done as possible. So it's exciting. I always try to remind myself during the most stressful times on a production, and I've been on a lot of them, that I always try to remind myself, this is actually the fun time. This is the fun time. You know, we all look back at this, you know, in 6 months and it'll be done. And I know it gets stressful during production, but it is important that this is the part in the film when all the, you know, troops are fighting together, when we're, you know, the sports team that's all, you know, right in the middle of it. So just remember, this is the fun time. And it's exciting to be able to actually see a finish line for layout that we are, I feel like we are very close to being done. And right now we also only have 2 more people to record. We have Ellie, we have Phil, and maybe some incidental Sprite voices, but all the pieces are coming together. So, and then I'm also happy to say that I feel very confident the story is still intact. It's still working, which is, you know, as a story person, is always my biggest concern. But that is the intro to this meeting. So Hjalti, I'll let you take it from there.
So for this week is mostly layout. And so I redid this shot, one of the vignettes of the sprites where they're kind of fixing the ladybugs. This is the scratch scene. So at the beginning of it, there's a lot of little tweaks here and there. Oh, little tweaks. It's basically an alt beginning version of it. And then from there on out, it's exactly the same. Haircut. Now that I look at it, okay, she's again running towards the camera, but whatever. Haircut updates. It's not completely done. There's still a couple of notes that I want to address there. And we have the entire snacks scene pretty much ready. I'll just scrub through some of the latest stuff there. I guess it's going to be blurred because it's all spoiler stuff, right, Francesca? I don't know. Anywho, yeah, and then meetings and stuff. Okay, that was my week. Yay!
I had to find the mute button.
Hey, I promise I won't talk at it after everyone's section, but I just do want to let you guys know that having Ellie running towards the screen, yes, that is like a trope that gets used in horror films all the time. And we tried her running side view with the trees passing, but we did get notes from different layout people in the industry that, yeah, you need to have her be running right towards you. Even though it's happening a lot, that is the best read for her to run, look up, see the spiders. So
yeah, there's some readability stuff about it.
Yeah,
like,
so we went back
side,
to it.
When she's looking up, it's not as obvious.
Yeah, so that was the reason, just to keep everybody in the loop.
So this week I finished grooming Victoria, and she is getting Rick now. So I think this the haircut is looking pretty good. The materials you can see here are work in progress. So Simon will address those and add more detail to the hair. Then I was also working on the distressed version, the cut hair of Victoria. And yeah, here's a still, here's a turntable. You can see that there are some black spots in the stubbles here. And also the rest of the shaven hair on the head is going to be covered by shading. in the second version, the black spots are gone. There's just some intersections in the transparency shader that was causing some, some artifacts basically. And and then I started doing the same for Rex. Rex also needed a distressed haircut version. And so I just ruffled up his hair. And these are some work in progress materials here. This is not what the final is going to be, but in terms of how scruffled up it is, this is what we will get here. And then I continued to work on some sets. This week, we need to do some set preparations for the next couple of weeks, where we have our new animators starting some scenes, namely the haircut scene and the scratch scene. So I already had the basis of the sets put together, but I just needed to finish it and make sure that it can actually be linked into shots and that all the different angles work. None of the backgrounds are there yet, but the individual layers are all switchable. And I also had to turn the tree that Ellie is hanging on into an individual prop, which will help us animate it. That was the same for the scratch set. The scratch set is also just a corridor with trees that she runs through, but I made sure that all the foot contacts with the sprites line up. And I should probably check the beginning of this now that it has changed slightly. And all the collections are switchable and everything. Then I gave Simon some notes for Victoria's dress, and Victoria's dress is kind of important when it comes to the characterization. So I just wanted to make sure that I picked the right kind of 80s material. And actually Sandra helped me with this. She she brought out all her clothing collection and showed me which type of material is what, and then we selected the one that looks uniquely 80s, which is kind of this Madonna vibe. We should not overdo it, obviously, but yeah, it should look pretty how can I say it, pretty artificial and uncomfortable, something that you wouldn't wear in the forest, but it totally fits her character because it looks, it's typically 80s. And that was my week.
Can everyone hear me and see my screen? Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, so Jay is in progress. And so continue with Jay did the eyebrows. So the eyebrows are lining up to the forehead. And also I've added some extra spans in between for deformation independently from the forehead. There was a little bit of lifting on the sculpt, so that's been fitted better to the head. The sculpt on the left and the retopo on the right, where I've added the thickness as with all the other characters. So there's a bit of a leeway when the eyebrows are animated independently from the forehead. And did the iris shape keys that are standard with all the characters. And the rig helper. And so from the retopo, just closed the eyes, got rid of the ears, the nose, and sealed the mouth. Then revisited Victoria as well as did the fix on Jay. So these were both a bit too wide. The request was to make it more like more thin. So made it back to create it more like the width of Ellie's tongue. Same with Jay. The side view where Ellie's tongue is placed where the bottom teeth are, which is the proper placement. And so Victoria's and Jay had the similar issues where it was a bit too high. So that's been lowered on both Victoria and Jay. So in the back view, the Ellie, and then here you could see the thickness of the tongue and the height as well too. So here it was narrowed, thinned in X and also brought down, and same thing with J. And the tongues are actually all the same. The tongues are actually all the same geometry, all the characters, including the sprites. So all the human characters and the sprites share the same geometry for the tongue. Went on to do the shades for Jay. There was a little bit of a mirroring issue. A face was closed here, so I mirrored that, and then also added some edge loops just to kind of even out the spans. And in the back view, you could see that I've added some extra geometry for the black part of the shades, so you don't see through to his Jay's eyes when he wears them. There was Ngon at the top, just clean that up, added some edge loops here and edge loops along just to even out the spans. And that's it for me.
So this week I worked all of 2 days because before that I was on holiday and Thursday was a national holiday. So in that 2 days, what I managed to achieve is today I tweaked this version of Victoria. So ignore this, that's not my work. So there's this thing. Basically previously this was like a very old version of the rig. And so, yeah, I just fixed the pose a bit. And yeah, so that it matches the cocoon more or less. And then hopefully Julian will be able to tweak this cocoon a bit more so that it fits this new Victoria again. And then we will see how this can be rigged. I have a few ideas. I'm not sure which will be the best yet, so that will take some experimentation, but that is for later. And then besides that, I also set up Victoria's particle hair. So this should now be working, and it is rigged with a billion bones, including these guys, which are called the hair bananas. So that's working, and then she also has this version of the hair, but for here all the bananas are just one, so these sub controls don't work, because I think that might not be needed because this is only used in like a couple of shots. But if it's needed, then I'll rig them individually as well. So yeah, that's Victoria hair, and then the last thing is a small thing, a very satanic thing, which is these parts on the slingshot tree are now real meshes instead of a curve, because that was causing issues with the caching workflow. Oops, whoa. Excuse me. So it turns out though that as far as I could tell at least, the curve modifier doesn't let you stretch the mesh. So what I did was just slap a driver on the X scale of the object and just hook it up to the location of this control, which is terrible. But look, it kind of works. So who cares, right? So yeah, I think this will be fine unless you push it too far. This is not fine. This is terrible, but it will work. Don't worry about it. So if anyone has a better idea for this, then don't tell me, because it's too late. It doesn't matter. It's done. So yeah, that's it for me.
So this week I keep working on this shot of the home run. Okay, mostly on the facials. So well, I think it's already done. Maybe we have to fix some little things yet, but it should be done. So it's cool. And today I also start new shot, the next one that, well, Rick didn't see it yet, so I hope it's not a disaster. Ah, you see it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's in progress. I started today, so well, that's it.
I animated this shot. I finished it up. I think you can see it, don't you?
Yep.
Okay. So I animated this shot with a new, I exaggerated a bit more, like the beginning of the shot, and then just it needs to animate the hair, and I animated already the earrings and everything, but I think I didn't play blasted, so I think that was my fault. And after that, I started to work on this shot. It's the sort of Rex pulling, trying to pull the dead body of Victoria. So this is what I've been doing for a couple of days. and it's still work in progress. So next week will be finished. And I think I did also some retakes and some stuff, and I think that's my week.
So show the snail. Show
Sorry?
the snail. Show
The
the.
snail. Okay. This guy. Yeah, I had to go jump back and animate the snail again. And finally looks like it's approved. So awesome.
So this week, yeah, a couple of new animators started, so I helped them onboarding, getting ready with starting testing some animation on the rigs and get used to our pipeline and workflow. And next to that, because we are growing our team in animation, I established some of the documents that are going to help us a lot with establishing the style and make sure that everybody knows what to do. So this is an animation style guide where I explain some stuff where we animate on twos and some rules and exceptions to that, what we expect in terms of posing, do's and don'ts on that, how to use the bendy bones and use them in a clever way so we don't get 2B characters but still remain their structure. And then going over some smears and multiples and when and how to use that. Next to that, I also made a video on how to make them in the 3D viewport with the grease pencil tool, and that video is on the cloud as well. And all of this stuff can be found on the Notion page where under, let me quickly show you, it is right here on the Sprite, Fright, and then animation info. There will be some extra things added on how we can easily preview to like our animation on twos while keeping it in spline, so it will be non-destructible, but that will be there next week. And then next to that, I also did some animation. I spent a lot of time animating. Which folder am I actually? Yes, this is the right one. Animating a lot of spiders on the web. So this is a shot that is in progress. So this is shot 70, and just to see how, and this is a mock-up shot where I basically show to the directors on where if this is the right speed, and we are definitely going to speed this up. So with that in mind, then I thought I was having another shot, and I think I do, which is the shot where all the spiders are getting away from Victoria. So that was my week.
I was working this week mainly on a new add-on to that like automates the transition from previous to an actual animation file, because there are like quite some steps involved to do this, and it's quite cumbersome for doing that for like 200 shots. So I wrote a little add-on that at least for now automates some of those steps. So here you can see I just created a new shot with the shot builder. And there is this add-on, and you can just click a button which sets up the workspace. You can, with one button, import the camera action from the previous file. It like all automatically finds the previous file based on your current file name. You can shift the whole animation of the camera, including all the modifiers and offsets with a click. And you can also load the latest edit with one button. And it actually should also shift the edit to the right position, but I have to check some frame range stuff if it's all current on Kitsu. And you can also, with one button, create all the actions for all the characters that are in your scene, so they are all named correctly. So yeah, I think like the creation time of a animation file goes from 8 minutes to 2 minutes or something, or one, which is definitely quite an improvement. And I was also looking into a evolvement of the Blender Kitsu add-on, which has a new option here to create play blasts, which might be interesting soon for the animators. It's not quite there yet, but it's like a sort of demo here. So what you can do is you can go ahead and say, hey, I'm in this shot now. And you can select if I want to play blast with Workbench or Eevee. This little button tells, you can say, I want to upload it to Kitsu or not. And then you would just create a play blast, click on the button. And of course that takes a while, but after a while, somewhere in a folder, there is a play blast here, which was done with Workbench. And also it landed on Kitsu there. So yeah, which is quite cool, but I want to implement also like versioning, that you can, you know, select a version of your play blast, maybe overwrite an old version, create a new one and everything, that you guys have like more flexibility and control. And then I was looking into setting up shots for the scratch sequence. I started with it today, and we still need to figure out some problems. For example, if we have like an asset like the thorn staffs, which actually consists of multiple variations, but we only need like a range of variations. This is currently not handled yet. So we need to find a way how we can approach this. And I also need to check some frame range issues with like the whole previous transitioning to the anim stage. But yeah, we'll get there eventually. Yeah, so I think that's my week.
So this week I was mostly doing some Victoria shading. There was a lot of UV unwrapping and technical stuff to be done just to make it work with the new topology. And there's still some tweaks that I need to do, some details to add in, but yeah, this is pretty much the state right now. Andy shared before the dress notes that he gave me to see what kind of material we're going to go for. So this was the first iteration, and then I changed up some things to make it a little bit more subtle, and that's where I am right now. So we still have to see how many tweaks we still need to do. This is still one of the earliest iterations, but I think it's pretty good for now. And yeah, so that's just a render of her. He said there's still some details to be tweaked. I haven't touched the hair shading that we have here right now to make additional tweaks, and yeah, things like accessories and boots still need to be updated a little bit in details, and some distressed versions need to be added. So yeah, I rendered out the turntable, but unfortunately that didn't finish in time. So there's supposed to be more lighting changes and the turntable at night as well. But yeah, so that's just a part of that turntable that I have here. Yeah, other than that, I did some smaller things as well. I added some shading for the tripping branch that the sprites use to trip over Victoria. Nothing too exciting. I just used the branch material, made it work with this asset. Then some other testing for how we want to set up shading parameters that we need to change in the lighting file. So I have a not super practical example, but just a tech demo basically to see how we want to do it. So I just set up an empty that functions as a settings rig for shading basically. And I'm in the lighting file, but I can still change the parameters that I set up on a basis for hiding objects like the socks here, for example, which, like I said, it's not practical, but yeah, it's going to be useful for other things. And shading parameters like just colors or other parameters that we need for the different variations for the distressed versions and stuff like that. So it's, yeah, we don't have that many things that use it right now, but yeah, it's going to be pretty important like next week or yeah, generally in the future. So I just made a demo to see how that would work. Then today I did a couple of tests for, let me actually show the other ones. For the shot where Ellie gets her hair cut by the sprites, or she cuts her own hair cuts it off to just fall to the ground, and then we need to be able to do that properly. So I did one test where I would just make the hair invisible behind a cut object, but that has its issues because then we have a very clean cut and it's not dimensional when you turn it around a little bit, so it doesn't look very realistic. I made another test that has the dimensionality but has other issues because here I'm just using the intercept, the length of the hairs but because of different lengths, it doesn't really work properly. The shorter hairs are also cut off, and it doesn't really, yeah, cut it on the same height for everything. And then I made a third test that kind of combines the best out of both worlds. I have a controller empty, which basically does a Boolean operation with the whole here, which works surprisingly well. So you have this dimensionality. You can even make this a little bit more ruffled up. So right now the cut is super clean, but can also be varied a little bit. And then, as you can see, I mean, it's pretty heavy on rendering, so it's kind of slow right now. But yeah, you can just move that in there, and that's going to be very helpful for the cut probably, because that means we don't have to. Yeah, we have to come up with some fancy tech, and this is probably something that will be good to handle on the shot. And yeah, that's my week.